Chapter 656. At all costs. Swaksar being the first to fall in the finals was an unexpected outcome. Yu Wenzhou was both Team Blue Rain's greatest strength and greatest weakness. Everyone knew this. Team Blue Rain was no exception. Thus, Team Blue Rain never neglected their protection towards Swaksar. Yet in the finals, Swaksar was actually the first to fall. Even though Team Samsara had sacrificed one of their team members, it was an extremely good trade for them. The fans of Team Blue Rain were very worried over this death. On the field, Team Blue Rain was clearly in a bit of a fluster. The reserve players on both teams were automatically switched in. Even though it was still a 5 versus 5 situation, Team Samsara seized the opportunity to launch a wave of attacks. But Team Blue Rain was still the number one team during the regular season and a team that had reached the finals. Even though Yu Wenzhou's early departure heavily affected them, his loss wouldn't cause them to completely collapse. Team Blue Rain's 5 players stood firm, and another closely fought contest between them and Team Samsara unfolded. Although Yu Wenzhou was no longer on the field and unable to lead the team or set up formations, his tactics and knowledge imperceptibly seeped into the team after playing for so long together. Despite him not being there, Team Blue Rain was still a team that coordinated well with each other. This was what a pro team should be like. Countless fans continued to watch in worry. The health of the characters on both sides continued to fall. Even with healers, they couldn't keep their teammates at full health. This was PvP, not PvE. The battle was constantly changing. Healing had to closely follow the pace of the battle. Every skill and drop of mana had to be utilized efficiently. In this kind of high-level fight, no one had any opportunities to be wasteful. A single overheal could be a deciding factor in a match. There were sometimes brilliant plays and sometimes mistakes in the shot calling by both teams. As the fight went back and forth, everyone's health and mana fell. The match was nearing the endgame, which required perfect play. Both sides were fully focused. Apart from Huang Xiaoshan chattering away in the all chat, the tensions were at their peak. Had Huang Xiaoshan's trash talking affected this match? Although the other players in Team Samsara weren't as quiet as Zhou Zikai, they still took after their ace player. Thus, their team was generally quiet and rarely talked in all chat. When facing Huang Xiaoshan's completely illogical and brainless trash talk, Team Samsara wouldn't bother inviting trouble onto themselves. But Huang Xiaoshan would still be constantly chattering in all chat even though no one ever replied back. No one knew what Team Samsara's players were feeling right now. From the way the match was going, it didn't seem like they made too many mistakes. Or perhaps these mistakes were a result of his trash talking? If Huang Xiaoshan wasn't talking trash non-stop, would their play have been more perfect? The effects of trash talking was difficult to test. Headwind, double stab, rising dragon, falling phoenix, sword strike rends the sky. Huang Xiaoshan didn't lose his distinctive characteristic as an opportunist. He suddenly found an opening amidst the wave of attacks. Before anyone else could interrupt him, he chained a series of attacks onto Team Samsara's Blade Master, Du Ming. Against his own class, Huang Xiaoshan seemed to be even more merciless. After completing this combo, he finished it with an Immortal Guides the Way. By the time Du Ming's Blade Master flew backwards, he had already died. Before Huang Xiaoshan could feel happy about his kill, he quickly turned around. Bang 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 bang. To Huang Xiaoshan, the majority of a sharpshooter's attacks could be described with a single word. Bang. Repeated gun sounds along with punching and kicking could be heard. The same time Huang Xiaoshan killed an opponent, Zhou Zikai also killed one. F***CK, 1v1 me, Huang Xiaoshan shouted in all chat. Troubling Rain rushed towards Cloudpiercer with a triple slash. But Zhou Zikai wasn't done yet. He continued to shoot. If no one stopped him, he would kill off a second player soon. With Troubling Rain closing in, Zhou Zikai didn't dare ignore him. He temporarily switched targets. He retreated, while pointing his gun at Troubling Rain, running while attacking. F***CK, stand still. Stop running, Huang Xiaoshan shouted. It looked as if Zhou Zikai was a coward, but anyone who played Glory knew that even though sharpshooters had close combat skills, it was better to keep a distance away and take advantage of their long-range skills. If you didn't have the ability to close in on your opponent, you would be kited to death. Zhou Zikai's actions were very normal. Huang Shaoxun's taunting was being deliberately provocative, but then again, talking back to Huang Shaoxun was just inviting trouble without reason anyways. The ace players on both teams clashed. Everyone hoped for more sparks to fly. But despite Huang Shaoxun constantly cursing at Zhou Zikai, Troubling Rain didn't complete his triple slash and turned around. His target wasn't Cloudpiercer. Huang Shaoxun had switched targets, but his trash talking was still towards Zhou Zikai. It was very obvious too. Most people would have been confused and disoriented by the switch up. They might even think Huang Shaoxun had messed up and gotten the wrong person. But pro players wouldn't be so easily affected. When Troubling Rain closed in on Fang Minghua didn't panic. He had Laughing Song retreat calmly to the protection of his other teammates. Team Blue Rain seemed to have all gotten the same order. All of them pounced in one direction. It seemed like they were determined to kill Laughing Song once and for all. Zhou Zikai. The person to stand out again was Zhou Zikai. The wide coverage that long-ranged classes possessed was fully utilized by Zhou Zikai. Cloudpiercer shot with his two guns to delay the movements of the other three Team Blue Rain players. In the end, it turned into a situation where Team Samsara had Troubling Rain surrounded. Both teams had a 1v3 situation on side and a 3v1 situation on the other side. But for Team Blue Rain, their 3v1 put them on a disadvantage. Even if they switched targets to Cloudpiercer, he was still far away. By the time the three of them arrived, Troubling Rain might already be dead by then. Huang Shaoxun was without a doubt a top god, but fighting 1v3 was a stretch. It was the endgame too. None of them had much health left. Even running away in a 1v3 situation might be difficult for him. F***CKF. When he typed out a bunch of curse words, a yellow light on his computer lit up, giving Huang Shaoxun a warning. Huang Shaoxun's F***CK wasn't an appropriate words to use. If he just used it once or twice, everyone would turn a blind eye to it, but they had to give a warning for a bunch of them in a row. Sword. Huang Shaoxun immediately switched words. He didn't dare go against the rules and continue swearing. If he got enough warnings, he would be kicked out from the match. As for whether his sword meant look at my sword or dirty TLN, the word for dirty and sword sound the same in Chinese, no one knew. After all, using the word sword alone wasn't commonly done. Huang Shaoxun made his decision. His hand speed erupted. Troubling Rain didn't try and retreat. He swung his sword to fight the three enemies. The match was at the endgame. Without much health left, retreating would be worse, so Huang Shaoxun was planning on doing his utmost to deal as much damage as possible before he died. Blood splattered everywhere. Some of the blood flew out from the other three characters, but there were some that flew out from him. Huang Shaoxun tried to make a trade. Not a 1-for-1, but a 1-for-3. He didn't think he could kill the three enemy players or even kill him along with himself. Instead, he wanted to lower their health enough for the others to be able to finish them off. The rest is up to you guys. Huang Shaoxun's final words weren't trash talk. Troubling Rain fell, but his three opponents had lost a lot of health in exchange. It was very possible that Team Blue Rain would be able to abandon all else and directly wipe them out in one go. Afterwards, it would turn into a 3v1. The match would end soon. Team Samsara didn't cower. The three players faced the attacks of the remaining Team Blue Rain players. In the end, Team Samsara's three players fell, but they were able to bring down Team Blue Rain's paladin with them. Without giving them any pause, Zhou Zikai's Cloudpiercer arrived. It was a 2v1, but the remaining Team Samsara player was Zhou Zikai. Apart from healing, there was nothing Zhou Zikai couldn't do. Everyone knew the match would conclude soon. Even though Zhou Zikai was skilled, he would still be going up against two enemies. Cloudpiercer may be in a better condition than his two opponent characters, but he still didn't have much health or mana left at this point. Bang! A single bang resounded throughout the field. Brilliant Edge fell. After Cloudpiercer stood up, he only had a sliver of health remaining, but he still seemed as calm as ever. When the camera pointed at Zhou Zikai, his calmness couldn't be seen. From the camera, only his nervousness could be seen. Even so, the thrill after winning couldn't be hidden. The audience exploded with cheers. This was Team Samsara's home stadium. Their victory was a victory in the finals. In the first round, Team Samsara won over Team Blue Rain, 7.5-2. Chapter 657. The People's War. When the match ended, everyone heaved a sigh of relief, even Team Blue Rain's fans. This match had been as brilliant as it had been intense. From the first clash between the two teams, the fighting never stopped until there was only one player remaining. This sort of match weren't commonly seen. The fierceness of this season's finals made the entire crowd feel like it was worth their money to watch it live. 7.5-2. Team Samsara's lead seemed quite large. However, players familiar with the glory scene knew that these points didn't have the same amount of weight as a sport like football. One side leading by 5 points after a single round wasn't a deal-breaker in glory. After all, following the competitive scoring rules, the team competition was worth 4 points. Along with a few points obtained in the individual competition and group arena, this difference in points was actually quite common. The finals would be decided by the total points obtained in the home and away matches, so this difference didn't mean the competition was over. The post-match interviews after the first round of finals were like fire. Team Blue Rain's captain Yu Wenzhou was as calm as ever. He praised his opponents as well as the performance of his players. He expressed his regret for being the first one to die in the team competition, because of a few reasons that everyone knows about. I'm often the enemy team's priority. Maybe I should have considered being the team's reserve player and substituting in occasionally to prevent our opponents from finding any opportunities to focus me. Whether his words were true or not, Yu Wenzhou's relaxed attitude could still be seen. He was an experienced player who had passed through many storms. A 2 to 7.5 point disparity didn't make him feel too much pressure. As for Huang Xiaoshen's interview, he once again tested the writing speed of the reporters and their recording device's battery life. They would need to search through a lengthy speech later to dig up valuable information. It would put their skill as a reporter to the test. But the most important interview was the one that gave them the greatest headache. Zhou Zikai was without a doubt the MVP of today's match. Even though Team Samsara's Liu Boyuan had been the first to open up the match in the team competition, Zhou Zikai was still the deciding player in the end. After a bunch of the reporters finally obtained a few relatively long responses. One of the questions that they obviously needed to ask was how he felt towards their victory, to which Zhou Zikai replied, "Very happy." Another lengthier response was Zhou Zikai's comment towards Huang Xiaoshen's performance, which he expressed was very outstanding. Someone asked Zhou Zikai for more details and his feelings towards Huang Xiaoshen's trash-talking. Zhou Zikai fell silent for quite a while before responding, "No time to read." That was about all they managed to unearth from Zhou Zikai. They would be able to get more information out of the other members of Team Samsara, but most of their answers were just decorous remarks, praising their opponents or their team. When the reporters asked about Team Samsara's skill points, the players would simply smile, but wouldn't say anything. After the post-match interviews ended, the stream showed a few highlights from the match. Then, the commentator and guest conducted a detailed analysis of the match. Yishu obviously didn't need to listen to the content of this analysis. The analysis of the commentator and guest couldn't compare to their own analysis. Tisk 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 tisk, Wei Chen clicked his tongue. He didn't say anything. His hands and head seemed to be focused on the game, but his heart clearly wasn't in it. His character was just running around in circles, not doing anything. His mind still lingered on the match. Yishu also went back to the game. He soon received a message from Lulan / a boss spawned. No way. How could it be such a coincidence? A boss spawned right when the match ended, Yishu replied. Lulan / sent him an ashamed emoji, the match was too intense. I forgot to pay attention to the game. It was info we received from a while ago. The boss is still there, Yishu asked. Still there. I just checked, Lulan / replied. Then let's hurry, Yishu immediately called Tangru and Steamed Bun. Those two were still watching the highlights from the match. When they heard his call, they went back to the game. Which boss? Yishu asked Lulan / for more details. Darkness Palace's Nightstreak, Lulan / replied. Ah, that guy, Yishu was excited. Nightstreak was a level 70 wild boss. It was Darkness Palace's secret protector, an expert in subterfuge and assassination. Among the player classes, he would be categorized as an assassin. I'm on my way. What's the situation over there? Yi Shu asked. Currently, none of the guilds have made any movements. However, a few players have grouped up to kill the wild boss, but they're hovering between life and death. Let's hurry. Lulan Slash was quite excited. His guild probably hadn't gotten a level 70 boss yet. The other guilds might be on their way too. Have your people be on the lookout, Yi Shu said. Should we start acting now? Lulan Slash asked. Having many bully the few won't be an issue, Yi Shu replied. Lulan Slash immediately arranged his troops. Yi Shu asked Wei Chen, Nightstreak has spawned. Did you guys get the information? My side? No, Wei Chen checked his messages. He looked at the guild chat. It was filled with the guilds celebrating their victory. Tonight was, without a doubt, a holiday for Samsara's fans. It wasn't just their own guild chat. Samsara had included the global chat with them. They acted like Samsara had already won the championships. The fans of the other teams couldn't keep watching. Especially Tyrannies, Tiny Herbs, and Blue Rains. These teams had already won the championships before. Their fans were looking down on Samsara's, regarding them as country bumpkins. Samsara's fans weren't looking at the big picture. They had only finished playing the first round of the finals. How could that be considered worth celebrating for? Excellent Era's fans also wanted to say a few words, but Excellent Era's performance in the regular season was too embarrassing. The smarter ones shut their mouths and endured it. A few jumped out and argued about Excellent Era, which attracted a lot of attention. They were immediately met with ridicule. All sorts of insults were thrown in the global chat. In this virtual world, it was always easy to make sparks fly. It couldn't be stopped either. Being able to say whatever you wanted was one of the charms of an online game. Wei Chen finally received a message. He checked it. It was unexpectedly a call for him to PK. The dispute between the fans of different teams had gone up a level. The friction had been continuously rising. That night, the arrogance of Samsara's fans had reached the peak. The guilds couldn't stop it from happening. This was the people's war. At this moment, as symbols of their team in the game, the club guilds could only stand on their fans' side. Any burden or losses from this large-scale PK was something that they couldn't ignore. The will of the people was everything. The fires of war continued to reach new heights. Even Wei Chen, the group leader of Samsara's second elite group, had been called to battle. The elite groups were the peak powers in the club guild. They would only set out for important battles. I'm going, Wei Chen was solemn as he replied to the call. From the rapid scrolling in the global chat, he could already predict how bitter this war would be. No matter how strong his character was, he would certainly drown within that ocean of people. The fires of war spread from the fans of the teams, who stood at the top in the game. A guild like Heavenly Justice could only watch as a spectator. Yi Shu quickly helped Lulan Slash recognize how good of an opportunity this was. Lulan Slash continued to dispatch troops over. Everywhere they walked was a battlefield. This was a war among the people. At the same time, it was a paradise for scrap pickers. The fans of these powerful teams were relatively high-end players. When they fought, good equipment would drop everywhere. Even non-professional scrap pickers would join in for this opportunity. However, how could the pickers just let scrap pickers take their equipment? The scrap pickers also got dragged into the war. An element of equipment soon added into the war between the fans. Yi Shu didn't care about any of this. He picked the shortest route to Darkness Palace. Lord Grimm's colorful equipment made others want to vomit at the sight of it. No one was crazy enough to want to fight him. His myriad manifestations umbrella was a silver weapon, so many people would covet it, but Yi Shu wasn't so stupid as to show it off to everyone. He obviously hid it in his bag. As a result, from the outside, it looked like Lord Grimm didn't have a weapon equipped. His character was also equipped with a set of garbage equipment. It didn't matter if others had heard of the famous Lord Grimm. No one caused him trouble. Tang Ru and Steamed Bun's situation were similar. They weren't members of any of the top guilds. Their equipment was below average. They were practically invisible in the current environment. The three quickly met with each other midway and headed over together. Halfway through, Lulan Slash received a message. A guild had started making movements in Darkness Palace. Which guild is it? Yi Shu asked. Conquering Clouds, Lulan Slash said. Conquering Clouds, Yi Shu repeated. Even though Conquering Clouds was also a club guild, in terms of the fight for wild bosses, they were a relatively low presence. In the Alliance, Team Conquering Clouds had performed quite well in the first half of the season. They had reached 8th place, but after Sun Xiang transferred to Excellent Era, Team Conquering Clouds quickly dropped and ended up in 15th place. It was hard to even consider them as middle-tier team in the pro scene. Their guild was certainly more powerful than your average player guild, but they were far from being at Blue Brook Guilds or Herb Gardens level. However, arranging a few elite groups to kill a wild boss wasn't a problem for them. For a lot of player guilds, even if you threw an uncontested wild boss to them, they still wouldn't be able to take it down. Thinking about this point, Yi Shu was a bit worried for Heavenly Justice. Heavenly Justice had started as a player guild. He also didn't know how good Lulan/'s elite groups were. What if they controlled the field, but Heavenly Justice still wasn't able to take down the boss? When Yi Shu asked, Lulan/ cried, "God, don't look down on us." Okay, that's good. I'll be there soon. Give me a group to lead. I'll take care of Conquering Cloud. You take the boss, Yi Shu said. Chapter 658. The Battle at Darkness Palace. Darkness Palace was a place that was filled with countless legends according to the game's lore. The magnanimity of the palace made the characters look tiny. When you looked up at the ceiling, it looked as distant as the sky. But to these experienced players, none of this amazed them anymore. Only Tang Ru and Steamed Bun had never been here before. After entering the palace, they looked around everywhere, enjoying the fresh scenery. Yi Shu and Lulan/ had contacted each other previously. When they arrived at the palace, they saw Lulan/ and his group waiting. Lulan/ immediately invited them to join his team and then directly gave him the position of group leader. When he saw the equipment worn by the three of them, Lulan/ felt pity. "God, I'm feeling sick looking at the equipment on you guys," Lulan/ said. "Then give us some equipment." "I don't mind," Yi Shu replied. "I didn't bring any with me. I'll give it to you when we're done," Lulan/ said. Haha, then we probably won't need it," Yi Shu laughed. What do you mean?" Lulan/ didn't understand. Yi Shu didn't explain and switched topics. "Where are Conquering Clouds people?" "They're currently inspecting their troops and making arrangements inside. They already saw, so they're probably on their guard," Lulan/ said. "You haven't seen any other guilds?" Yi Shu asked. "No. Throw some people along the sides of the road to keep a lookout for them. If they discover anything, we'll be able to prepare a plan in advance," Yi Shu said. "Relax. I've already arranged for it." Lulan/ wasn't so green. He needed Yi Shu to teach him something as simple as this. "Let's go in." Yi Shu nodded his head and their group set off. Their group was in high spirits because everyone knew Lord Grimm's name. Even though they couldn't personally confirm it, most players firmly believed Lord Grimm was Yi Chu. It didn't matter whether you were a fan of Yi Chu or not. The weight that the name Yi Chu held was obvious. Being able to play with a god in the game would always be an amazing experience. "Is he God Yi Chu? Is he God Yi Chu?" Quite a few people were asking around in the group chat. Even though Lord Grimm had the Heavenly Justice tag next to his name, he rarely interacted with the other guild members. That's me. Everyone, listen to my directions," Yi Shu typed. Oh. All sorts of emojis were typed into chat, making Lulan/ feel jealous and envious. This sort of respect wasn't something he could get by throwing money. "God, I'll be heading over there," Lulan/ called out. He was planning on leading another group. Go ahead," Yi Shu replied. Lulan/ left the group and was preparing to join the other group, but his character couldn't teleport over. He walked with Lord Grimm and the others, guiding them. It wasn't very bright in Darkness Palace. After passing through a few rooms, they finally reached a spacious hall. Several hundred players were already inside, but it didn't feel crowded. Apart from several stone stels and dusky rays of light, it didn't feel like they were indoors. "Those are Conquering Clouds people," Lulan/ pointed out to Yi Shu. "I see them," Yi Shu replied. He examined his opponent's members and then said in the group chat, "Come. I'm going to do some rearranging." Each group had 10 teams. Yi Shu rearranged it by class. Each team composition had a clear style. The teams were sorted into distinct melee, long-range, healers, AoE, control, trap teams to make it easier to lead. Our people are over there. When should we start? Lulan asked Yishu. He wasn't in Yishu's group anymore, so he didn't know that he was rearranging his troops. Whenever you want, Yishu said, while rearranging everyone. Ah, they've started, Lulan suddenly shouted. Yishu turned around. Sure enough, Conquering Cloud had started attacking. All sorts of skills suddenly burst out. Have some people go up, Yishu said. Attack people or attack the boss? Lulan asked. It doesn't matter. Right, where's the boss? Yishu asked. He hadn't seen the boss. Nightstreak had the same model as the characters. The boss wasn't some giant monster, so he wasn't easy to find with so many people here. Lulan who was about to go to battle, stumbled. He couldn't help but turn around and look at Lord Grimm. A normal person asking this question would be normal, but God should know everything. They had arrived at the scene, but he couldn't find the boss. It made Lulan panic a little. Before he could answer, he heard Yishu say, whatever. That's your problem. Lulan absent-mindedly ran to one side and met up with his group. Conquering Cloud's people fought the boss, while keeping their guard against Heavenly Justice. It was obvious what Heavenly Justice's intentions were. For Conquering Cloud, having the opportunity to snatch a level 70 boss wasn't easy. They didn't want to lose this chance. Go up, Lulan roared. Attack the people or the boss? The group members asked. It doesn't matter, Lulan thought about Yishu's previous words and gave an answer. In the end, he swept over the battlefield and then paused. Right, where's the boss? Lulan understood now. The battle was such a mess that the boss Nightstreak couldn't seen. Lulan also couldn't find the boss, but his group had people paying attention and pointed it out to him. When he saw the boss, Lulan considered how he should go about attacking. At this moment, Yishu sent him another message. They have quite a lot of people. I might need some more support. Okay, Lulan replied. He recalculated how he should arrange everything, when he suddenly heard shouts from nearby. Yishu had led his group forward. Their target was obvious. They didn't hesitate. Then again, Yishu didn't even know where the boss was located. He just directed his team to start attacking enemy players. Team 1 and 2 to the left. Team 3 and 4 to the right. Team 5 in the middle. Team 6 and 7 stand 4 units from the back and attack. Team 8 CC them. Team 9 get ready to throw ice. Team 10, get ready to heal. This division of work had been arranged beforehand. Without anyone disturbing them, their execution went flawlessly. With just one wave of attacks, a huge hole appeared in Conquering Cloud's troops. They clearly couldn't hang on. They hadn't thought Heavenly Justice would be so aggressive and directly charge at them. It didn't even seem like they knew where the boss was. Hold your ground. Hold your ground. Stay in order. Stay in order. Conquering Cloud didn't have any plans on attacking back. They were shouting orders according to the first thing that they thought of. Team 9. Ice, Yishu ordered. Team 9 was comprised of Spellblades and Ghostblades. They had been ready to attack at any moment. When they heard the order, they immediately cast their spells. The Spellblades' Ice Wave formation and the Ghostblades' Ice Boundary were different, but they both had a chance to inflict freezing. A huge section of Conquering Cloud's troops had been frozen into blocks of ice. AoE team, don't stop attacking. Team 3 charge. Make sure to interrupt their high-leveled skills. In a large-scale battle, Yishu had no way of displaying his individual prowess. He could only lead the group. Even though he hadn't formed any tacit understanding with this group, with Yishu's identity, no one would question his orders. They didn't ask why and just carried it out. Each of the teams had their use in the battle. There would sometimes be AoE attacks or crowd control or focused attacks. The battle went smoothly. If they were doing well, Conquering Cloud was naturally having a bad time. Their troops were in a complete mess, yet their leader was still telling everyone to hold their ground. In comparison to Yishu's quick and precise leading, Conquering Cloud's troops were like scattered sand. Without any strategy or tactics, they suffered heavy losses with very little advantages to show for it. This was Conquering Cloud's current state. If Conquering Clouds continued on in this way, they would be forced out. It wasn't that the leader was stupid, but rather he didn't know what to do in this situation. The enemy attacks blotted out the sky and covered the ground. It made him feel like if he did this, it wouldn't be right, but if he did that, it wouldn't be right either. Hold your ground. Hold your ground. As he shouted these words, the leader was actively surveying the situation and thinking of a solution. However, his thinking couldn't keep up with the constantly changing situation. As soon as he thought up of something, the battle suddenly shifted. It was as if a spy had ruined his plans. How could he dare to send out any orders? Once Yishu's team spread chaos throughout Conquering Clouds, with the rear on fire, how could the ones on the front lines attacking the boss be calm? Quite a few of them went to help in the PvP in panic, when Lulan/'s group suddenly charged forward. Conquering Clouds immediately resisted, thinking Lulan/'s group was planning on attacking them like Yishu's group, so they decided to strike first. Even though the boss was their target, Lulan/ obviously couldn't ignore this attack. His leading couldn't compare to Yishu's, but his group had a team of elites too. Lulan/, Ocean Ahead, Little Bei, Night Tide, Thousand Falling Leaves. These 5 were planning on entering the Pro Alliance next season. Whether it was their character or their skill, they far surpassed normal players. It could be said that unless a pro team was here, for a 5-player team, Lulan/'s team were unrivaled in the game. This point could directly be seen in this battle. These 5 were unstoppable. They had tacit understanding with one another and their coordination linked together naturally. They already had an aura of pros. With such a team, Conquering Clouds troops were suppressed. Heavenly Justice's other players weren't just cheerleaders either. Both sides of Conquering Clouds had to retreat in defeat. They couldn't control the boss Nightstreak either. Attacked on all 3 sides, their troops fell layer after layer. Attack the boss, Lulan/ was still clear-headed. He hadn't forgotten his goal. As he killed players, he directed several of his troops to begin attacking the boss. Conquering Clouds' defeat had already been determined, but who knows if another guild might show up? Just as he was thinking about this, he received a message: players from Seaside are heading over. Chapter 659. Who is robbing whom? I knew it wouldn't be this easy, Yishu sighed after reading Lulan/'s message. Compared to Conquering Clouds, both the guild and Team Seaside were troublesome opponents. Their team's Zhao Yang was an all-star level pro who used the Chi Master, Boundless Sea, a powerful character even amongst the pro players. Although they were strong, there was still a limit to just how powerful they were. The truly powerful clubs were too occupied with the drama happening during the playoffs. The only ones who still had time to fight for field bosses were the small fries who still hung around on both sides. Where are they now? Yishu asked Lulan/. They're on the way. There are 2 groups, Lulan/ answered. Guild Seaside didn't have much success with wild bosses in the past, so they had learned to be more vigilant every time they found a new opportunity. They would gather their troops together before they embarked on the conquest. Because of this, they were a lot slower than Heavenly Justice and Conquering Clouds. 2 groups are fine. Let's hurry up and finish it up here. You guys continue dealing with the boss. I will lead another group to deal with Seaside, Yishu decided. Lulan/ wasn't dealing with the boss at the moment. He and his 5-people team were enjoying their massacre against Conquering Clouds along with the assistance of Yishu's group. Lulan/ had only sent a portion of his people to deal with the boss Nightstreak. Seeing that that portion was enough, everyone else continued to enjoy the slaughtering. With sharp strategies on one side and overwhelming combat prowess on the other, Heavenly Justice beat Conquering Clouds swiftly. Although Heavenly Justice didn't win without any casualties, all of the losses they sustained were rather negligible. The brilliant strategies minimized the damage they had taken. Conquering Clouds quickly realized that their defeat was set in stone and struggling longer would only lead to more losses. The guild leader ordered the retreat with a long sigh. Under normal circumstances, Heavenly Justice would have just let them go, but considering that Seaside was arriving soon, they chased after Conquering Clouds, trying to kill off as many players as possible. Heavenly Justice wanted to eliminate the possibility that Conquering Clouds would come back to take an advantage of both sides once Heavenly Justice clashed with Seaside. Conquering Clouds had the worst luck today as they were slaughtered all the way out of the Darkness Palace. Even the guild leader died in the chaos. Without a leader, Conquering Clouds fell apart immediately. Yishu stopped the bloodshed right away, and started reorganizing the troops because Seaside's troops were now within sight. Heavenly Justice had grasped total victory against Conquering Clouds, so everyone's morale was through the roof right now. Lulan/ spent no time on the boss. Instead, he followed Yishu's group all the way to the entrance. Using this small break, he delivered a rallying speech to his own guild, outlining the glorious victory they would have over Seaside. Stop listening to his bragging. Hurry up and get into positions, Yi Shu yelled out, and the crowd scattered instantaneously. What are we doing? Lulan Slash was confused. Ambush, Yi Shu replied. Ambush? Do you actually want to go head to head with them? Don't you know how to use your information properly? Yi Shu questioned. But didn't they already see us? Lulan Slash was even more puzzled. Then they can choose to not enter. There's only one entrance to the palace anyways, Yi Shu refuted. He had already regrouped all the players and sent everyone in hiding. He never planned on having a direct confrontation with Seaside, so instead, he had the ambush in mind from the start. Oh, I get it. I should get my guys to hide too. Lulan Slash turned around to deliver the new command to his group. Tell me, Yi Shu's Lord Grim stepped in front of Lulan Slash, if you come over here, then once the boss dies over there, who will pick up the loot? Lulan Slash jumped up in shock. The right to pick the boss's loot wasn't free for all. It's usually determined within the group, so only the guild leader or the person designated as the guild leader had this right. Lulan Slash hadn't given this authority to anyone, so by default, he had to be the one to pick up the loot. However, he was so far away from the boss that the system had switched the right to pick loot to free for all, which definitely didn't work for Lulan Slash. After realizing this, Lulan Slash ran back like a shooting rocket. On the other hand, Ocean Ahead and the others stayed behind to join the upcoming battle. But then again, just now was pretty exciting, but this time, seemed a little shameless. Although something felt wrong, everyone hid themselves well. As they approached, Seaside noticed that there was a crowd at the entrance, but the mob quickly dispersed. Knowing that there was a wild boss, Seaside assumed that the scene they witnessed was probably the result of the clash between two guilds. What a wonderful opportunity for us. No matter who the winner of that conflict was, both sides must have suffered severe losses. If this isn't the most perfect time to attack, what is? Guild Seaside moved swiftly and was soon upon the entrance at the middle of mountain. Nonetheless, they maintained a cautious position and did not break their formation, nor did they attack randomly, preparing against a potential assault. Unfortunately, they had miscalculated the results of the conflict between Conquering Clouds and Heavenly Justice. They never imagined that Heavenly Justice had decimated Conquering Clouds by such a large margin. There were some minor casualties, but the morale of Heavenly Justice was incredibly high after that one-sided victory. While Guild Seaside was still thinking about how to torture a group of wounded after a battle, they stepped into the gateway of Dark Palace. A flood of skills exploded out without any warning. Ambush! The guild leader of Seaside screamed, but he was not too worried. This was, in the end, a game. All that an ambush could usually accomplish was to provide some initial advantages, since instant kill between same-level players was not a possibility. Unlike a real battlefield, where a successful ambush could take out a field of enemies. In a game, all it could do was lowering the enemy's HP somewhat, unless you focused firepower on a single target. Believing his opponents were just a group of wounded players, the leader of Seaside's troops did not panic at all. He told his troops to not panic, and then started observing the situation calmly. Within moments, this guild leader found himself in a total confusion. Wasn't this offense a little too violent? The guild leader of Seaside noticed this while watching his own HP gauge slipping at a visible speed. The attacks were simply too fierce to be coming from the pitiful victims that he was imagining. On top of that, there were attacks coming from all directions, so he had no idea which way he should be retreating to. First team. Fourth team. Sixth team. Yi Shu, on the other hand, was giving out a constant flow of commands and directing this surprise attack with patience. He had no intention of turning this into a frontal battle after gaining even the tiniest advantage at the beginning. However, Ocean Ahead and his friends had a different idea. After being contemptible for a while, they decided to charge in and soon wrestled among Seaside's players. This gave the ambushed Seaside a sense of direction and focused their attacks on them. In terms of numbers, Guild Seaside had the upper hand. Still, Heavenly Justice had just won a perfect victory. Their high morale boosted their performance level way above the usual. Coupled with Yi Shu's ingenious strategies and the fact that only Lulan Slash was missing from the elite force, Heavenly Justice dominated the battlefield with ease. Guild Seaside's confidence quickly deteriorated. Aren't our people dying a bit too quickly? Advantage. Where is our advantage? Seaside's guild leader finally began to panic. The current situation was not what he had expected in the slightest. He had dreamed of an easy victory. He had prepared to accept the struggle if the opponent was not that much weaker, but he couldn't understand why the balance of winning was tilting in favor of the other side as it continued to progress. Third team, 4 o'clock direction, charge. Ninth team, 8 o'clock, traps. Sixth team, AOI attack, provide cover for the charging team. First team, ignore them. Come back and regroup with the second. The attacking teams were also being put on track as well under Yishu's command. They maintained the violent attacks without sacrificing organization. Seaside's ease and calmness had already been crushed. The guild leader was starting to give out directions like, stand your ground. If the people from Conquering Clouds were here, they would definitely feel a sense of déjà vu. If someone could give them another chance to start over, they would retreat right at that moment without any hesitation. Unfortunately for Seaside, since they had no idea what had happened before they had arrived, they still believed that there was still a chance for them to turn it around. The guild leader was still looking for an opening to turn the tide. As he looked around, he noticed that his people were disappearing at a frightening pace. Soon it seemed like the entire screen was filled with Heavenly Justice's people, waving their blades around to reap the life of another one of his comrade. All the characters with Guild Seaside's tag above their head were either struggling or on the ground. It was only then did Seaside's guild leader realize that he had lost this fight completely. He had lost this boss fight without even seeing the boss once. No matter how unsatisfied they were, they could not revive dead characters with their emotions, so Seaside had no choice but to retreat, which is the best thing they could do right now. Seaside had a smooth retreat. Lulan / did not receive any more additional news of any newcomers, so they did not treat Seaside the way that they treated Conquering Clouds. Upon seeing them retreating, Yishu let them off by easing the attacks before sending Lulan / a message. Lulan / did not have the spare time to reply. When the players rushed back to where the boss was, the announcement that Heavenly Justice had killed Nightstreak showed up in the World Channel. Cheers erupted from the troops. All of that killing was for this moment. Noticing that everything went without problems, Yishu finally let his heart drop back down and started hoping for the right loot. When the new message from Lulan / arrived, Yishu was fully expecting a report of the loot, but the message had only one word, F******. What? Yishu was confused. This was a level 70 field boss's drop, so no matter how unsatisfactory it was, one could always use it to trade for something he or she needed. I got killed by someone, Lulan / messaged again. What? Deception. Wasn't he your friend? Lulan / asked. That guy. Yishu paused in surprise. He could guess most of the things that happened without asking and cried out hurriedly, Steam Bun. Hurry up and guard the door. Humph? Steamed Bun looked up. After a second of confusion, he took off his headphones and walked towards the entrance of the room. All three people in the room stared at him for a second, then Yishu snapped exasperatedly, I'm asking you to guard the door in the game. While Tang Ru was laughing hysterically, Wei Chen was full of seriousness, this was a grave mistake on our part. Chapter 660. Be wary of leaving combat. When Steamed Bun finally figured out what was happening and rushed to the entrance of Dark Palace, Tang Ru had moved ahead of him. Yishu's Lord Grim followed Soft Mist to figure out the situation. The cleric present revived Lulan / right away, so he was present as well. Right now, he was ordering everyone to start a hunt. That guy was pretty strong. Make sure you stay with your party. Don't confront him by yourself. When Yishu heard his command, he hastily spoke up to stop Lulan / scatter. Scatter around. But that guy was pretty strong, Lulan / stated his point again. Being alone can drag him out, so it's a good thing. If this drags on for too long, then you'll leave combat be able to log out. It'll be too late by then, Yishu explained. Upon hearing this, Lulan / changed his orders immediately while lamenting over the shrewdness of the experienced experts. Isn't he your friend? What's going on? Lulan / was nowhere near as composed as he appeared to be. He rushed forward to pick up the loot the moment the boss died. While he was still counting the rewards excitedly, someone else suddenly labeled him as a boss and killed him when he least expected it. When one got killed in the game, a few items from the inventory would also drop. Therefore, most players wouldn't carry anything important on themselves. Just now, when he picked up the loot, Lulan Slash had turned himself into a mobile treasure vault. When he died, he lost more items from his inventory than equipment on his body. 3 items from his inventory dropped, while only 1 equipment on his body had dropped. While his equipments were flashy, the items in his inventory were much more rare. After all, they had came from a level 70 wild boss, which was usually hoarded away by the big guilds. The items he lost, especially the materials, couldn't even be bought with money. Their value far surpassed the equipments he had. Right now, he lost all of that to a scrap picker. There were no words to describe the bitterness he felt. We just know each other. Don't worry. He hasn't run too far yet. I'll take full responsibility if I can't get the stuff back, Yi Shu replied. Lulan Slash had some doubts. Apart from Deception's reputation, Lulan Slash had seen Lord Grimm working with him last time. The thought did he act on Lord Grimm's order surfaced the moment he got killed. Still, he quickly realized that this kind of betrayal was meaningless. They had originally agreed to divide the loot by half. This assassination would earn him less than half, so what would be the point? Lulan Slash didn't think too much about it, but the thought was still there. He simply pushed it to the back of his mind. Yi Shu's words not only crushed his doubts, it also embraced him a little. No, I didn't mean it that way. I was just wondering, aren't the two of you friends? Is there some misunderstanding? No, that is just what he does, Yi Shu answered. Oh, Lulan Slash was going to follow up with an explanation of how Deception had killed him, but Yi Shu interrupted, just tell me where he ran off to. That's much more important than how you died. This way? Lord Grimm pointed with myriad manifestations umbrella towards the direction where players were gathering. Yeah, Lulan Slash agreed. Start attacking with AoE attacks, Yi Shu called out, while going over, attack with your group. Those who aren't in the same group, don't crowd together. Don't stand around too loosely. Try to cover more area with your attacks. Start attacking. Yi Shu was too busy giving out commands to chat with Lulan Slash. Lulan Slash thought about it. There really was no time to chat. Once Deception leaves a combat state and logs off, he can't have everyone here wait until he comes back. It didn't take long to leave combat, only 3 minutes. This was determined by the system. If no skill hit Deception within 3 minutes, he would be considered out of combat. Then, he could simply log off and escape this hunt with ease. Yi Shu's plan right now wasn't focused on killing or even finding the opponent. All he wanted to do was ensure that Deception couldn't log off. Open your eyes. That guy's a ninja. The ID is Deception. He's a professional scrap picker. His greatest strength is being shameless. Very shameless. When Yi Shu's voice echoed across the hall, Lulan Slash, as the guild leader, decided to stay silent to let Yi Shu take full control. The players from Heavenly Justice responded in kind. They were quite enraged by the fact that their guild leader got killed out of the blue. They simply couldn't allow the fruits of their hard work to be stolen so easily. They couldn't accept that they had beaten 2 large guilds with clubs behind them, but lost to a lowly scrap picker. The peace and quiet that had settled down in the Darkness Palace with the end of the boss fight was quickly shattered. Players of all classes took out their AoE skill. No one knew if the skills had hit Deception, but they had aggroed quite a number of monsters. Dark Palace was nonetheless still a leveling area, and all leveling areas had regular monsters. It was just that those regular monsters posed no real threat to the elite teams, so no one really cared much about them. While dealing with the monsters casually, everyone was still looking around, hoping to see Deception. There! A cry rang from somewhere. When most were still looking around to locate the source of it, Lord Grimm had already run off. Is he there? Lulan Slash hastily followed, but he wasn't sure about it at all. This only made him realize the gap he had in comparison to Pro even more. Yi Shu had Lord Grimm charging straight over. Purple smoke exploded, engulfing a number of people in a flash. Ninjutsu smoke bomb. Spitfires have a similar thing called smoke bullet. Smoke bombs worked faster than smoke bullets. They filled the entire area in a split second. Using this skill in that moment was obviously for escaping. Yi Shu immediately gave up trying to find Deception in the smoke cloud. Instead, he started predicting where he would jump out from. As expected, Deception's figure quickly shot out of the smoke cloud. Surely, there were people other than Yishu who noticed this and gave chase right away. Yishu, on the other hand, noticed that Deception's hand moved back as he was escaping and shouted out a warning, "Beware of the nails." Nails was the name given to the skill by the players. The actual skill name would be caltrops. These tiny spikes are thrown onto the ground. Those who stepped on them wouldn't take a lot of damage, but it severely decreased a character's mobility. Deception hid his action well, so most people wouldn't have noticed that he threw out the nails. Unsurprisingly, among the many that gave chase, quite a few slowed down suddenly. Clearly, they had stepped on the nails by accident. With another handful of caltrops, he successfully delayed his pursuers to buy himself some time to jump onto the stone pillar nearby and started climbing upward. The guns roared away. Just because the melee players were stopped didn't mean that the long-range players had to take a back seat. The gunner-class players focused their gunfire on him right away. However, Deception performed superbly. He was clearly well practiced with the climbing skill known to ninjas. In that moment, there was no one to stop him. Yishu knew from his agile movements that he probably hadn't brought out his trash equipments for this scrap picking. This kind of speed could only be achieved with movement speed buffs from relatively good equipments. In a few breaths, Deception was pretty high up. With a backward jump, he stepped onto a beam and started sprinting straight ahead. The beam was rather narrow, so it had no space for horizontal movement. Running up there spared him from dealing with the troubles from melee class players, but it made him the perfect target for long-range class players. Amidst the gunfires, Deception ran straight ahead, swaying left and right to dodge the attacks. These actions demonstrated his incredible mastery over his character's movements. Not bad, Yishu praised. At the same time, Deception had finally entered Lord Grimm's effective attacking range. The Myriad Manifestations umbrella shook an anti-tank missile shot straight at Deception. Boom! The missile landed on the beam squarely and the shock wave spread out. Deception dodged both with an agile leap, successfully avoiding this calculated move of Yishu's. Amidst the regretful sighs of the players around, Deception could feel cold sweat dripping down his back. If he had reacted half a second later, the missile would have hit him. Deception had been ignoring his attackers up until now. That well-planned attack finally tempted him a glance at the crowd. Immediately, a familiar name stood out painfully to him. Why is he here? Deception buried his surprise in his heart and noticed the guild ID before Lord Grimm's name. It was same as all the other players, Heavenly Justice. Had he been recruited? While Deception was still contemplating about it, Lord Grimm fired again. Deception started to worry. If it was a one-on-one, he was confident that he could dodge the attacks pretty easily. The problem at hand right now was that he was running around in a rain of bullets. If an expert at such a high skill level joined the fray, there was no way his escape would be easy. That jump had indeed been splendid, but that was because he had made a mistake previously and moved one step too slow. How many players could make that sort of prediction? I can't drag this on any longer. Deception made up his mind. Eyeing the stone pillar nearby, he suddenly jumped over. Just when he seemed to have missed it, he threw out a ninjutsu, which buried itself into the pillar. Then he swung his character over using the rope attached to the small knife. After some swinging in midair, he successfully hid himself behind the pillar. Surround him, Lulan ordered loudly, and the players of Heavenly Justice rushed from every direction. Behind the pillar, Deception used a ninjutsu disappearing body technique right away and was planning on taking his time to assess the situation when a roll of racing bullets nicked him. Among the flying debris, Lord Grimm's gun pointed straight at him from below the pillar. Still hiding? Deception was gloomy. Wasn't that a bit too fast?